In today's video, I'm answering some of your top asked questions. Let's get right into it. Okay, friends, admittedly, I have had such a hectic week this week, and I haven't been able to sit down and really look at my list of video ideas for you so that I can really develop and create a full-length video. So what I decided we could do instead is answer some questions that you have been asking me quite often in recent months through my YouTube comments, my Instagram DMs, anywhere that you have been sharing questions for me on social. And I will explain why I'm having such a hectic week very soon. I will probably talk more about it in tomorrow's video, so stay tuned for all of that. But hopefully it's okay that we can sit here and chat with each other about some of the questions that you have been having. So feel free to put me in the background or not. Grab yourself a coffee. I do have my iced latte over there. But yeah, let's jump right into it. I have 5 questions for today's video, and the first question is a combination of several questions that I kind of clustered together because they're very similar. Those questions are: where are you from? Are you originally from New York City? Your background, and questions like that. I get that question or those questions so often. So firstly, I am from New York City. I was born in New York City. I was raised there, and I lived there my entire life up until about 4 years ago. So I never moved out of New York City for my entire life up until very recently. Specifically, I'm from the borough of Queens, which, if you're thinking about all of the boroughs, it's a little bit more quiet. It's a little bit more suburb in comparison to Manhattan and Brooklyn, but it's not as suburb as, say, Staten Island. So it has a good balance of all of the boroughs, and I'm a little bit biased in saying that I think it's the best borough ever. But yeah, I've lived there my entire life as well. So I obviously grew up there, but when I got older and I moved out of my parents' house, I still lived in Queens. I just lived in different areas of Queens. So I started in South Richmond Hill. That's where I am from. Like, that's where my childhood is. And then I moved to Jamaica, which is very close to Richmond Hill. And for context, like, these areas are very close to JFK Airport, so it's pretty far out in comparison to Manhattan and Brooklyn. And then very recently, right before I moved to New Jersey, I lived in the Kew Gardens, Forest Hills area. So that is where I'm from, and I've lived there my entire life. And then about 4 years ago, I moved over one state over to New Jersey, and that is where I purchased my house and where I currently live now. So now I live in New Jersey and have been for 4 years. In terms of background, I am Guyanese American, so both of my parents are from Guyana. They were born in Guyana, and I was born over here, so I'm Guyanese American. And for context, Guyana is a small country in South America. Okay, so that's question number 1. Question number 2, I have been getting quite a lot recently because of the announcement of Sunday Paper House, which, if you did not know, Sunday Paper House is my brand new paper goods business that I will hopefully be launching in the summer. Very, very excited to be talking about it publicly because I've been keeping it a secret for so long. But no, I did not go to school for art. I have always been in the artsy spaces my entire life. When I was in elementary school and middle school, I was very artsy, did all sorts of different artsy types of things. And in high school, I actually started at my high school. My high school was specialized for the arts. So I started at my high school doing traditional fine art, and then I shifted over to performance art. So I was like singing and playing guitar. So all sorts of artsy types of things. But when I went to college, I earned my bachelor's degree in creative writing. So a lot of writing, a lot of novel writing, and you would think that I would want to pursue a career of being an author once I graduated college, but I definitely didn't want to do that, and I never wanted to do that with my creative writing degree. I always wanted to take it digital and do something in that space, which these days a lot of the jobs kind of equate to digital marketing, which you may know is what I was doing at my 9 to 5. So yeah, it all is super creative types of things. And yeah, so didn't go to school for art in the most traditional sense, but still in the artsy space. So yes and no, I guess, to that question. Okay, the next question is kind of similar, but the question is, what is your business? So like I just mentioned, the name of my business is Sunday Paper House, and it's a paper goods business. So what that means is we are going to be dropping paper goods products. So it's going to be all sorts of stationery in particular. We're starting with some particular products, which I will hopefully be able to share with you super soon. And then as we develop and grow, we hope to launch more varied products and more of the same products that we are hoping to launch at the very beginning stages. So long story short, it is a paper goods company and it will be specializing in all sorts of stationery and other paper goods. And I'm very, very excited to be talking more about it, and I will be sure to share a lot more as we continue to build it ahead of the summer launch. Okay, the next question, I'm really going through these questions super fast. I apologize if this video is like 2 seconds long, but the next question is, will you ever go back to iPhone or Samsung? So for context, my phone that I use is the Google Pixel 9 Pro in the smaller size, in the standard size. There's an XL as well. And I have been using the Google Pixel devices since the very first Google Pixel phone. So it's been quite a long time now since we're about to see the release of the 10th version of it. So I really love Google. I think it's kind of clear in that, and I have yet to find a reason to stray away from the Google Pixel devices. I love them so much. There have been issues over the past year, but they have never been so significant that like I felt like I was completely done with the Google Pixel devices. And I can't actually say that for Samsung, because before I had the Google Pixel devices, I was a big Samsung person. I was a big Samsung Galaxy person, and I used to get those phones year over year over year. And there was a point where I was like, I can't do this anymore. Like, Samsung is just not for me anymore. And that's why I switched over from Samsung to Google Pixel. So right now, I would say that I do not have any plans to move over to Samsung ever again. I'm very content with the Google Pixel devices, so I plan on continuing getting those until further notice. As for the iPhones, I have never actually actively used an iPhone before. I've never actually owned an iPhone and really used it as my daily phone before. I did do a couple of videos, I think late last year, where I did show you that I had an iPhone 10, I think, and that was for work purposes, and I used it for a very short period of time, maybe like 3 months, and then I never used it again. I had bought it used at the time as well. It was just for very specific work related things, and it ended up not being useful for me at all, so I stuck with my Google Pixel and I kind of chucked the iPhone to the side and never used it again. So no, I will never use an iPhone. The iPhones are just not my thing. I am definitely an Android fan, and so I most likely will never switch over to iPhone. Okay, and then the last question is, how did you get into slow living? I think this is a really good question that I don't actually talk about often, which is weird. I should talk about it more since my channel is all about slow living, mostly. But I got into slow living because I was kind of sick and tired and burnt out by the lifestyle that I was living in New York City. And that was just my way of living, was that burnt out hustle, fast-paced culture of New York City. That was all that I knew because obviously, like I mentioned, that's where I'm from. But as I continued to get older and I started to travel more and start to realize like a slower environment, a more peaceful environment is something that's more ideal for me and my overall joy, my overall well-being, I started looking into options to implement that kind of lifestyle into my life being a New Yorker. And it did impact the reason for me moving out of New York City. It wasn't the sole reason why I moved out of New York City, but it definitely played a role in me like having the courage to finally leave New York City. And so there was just so many different reasons. I was overall just looking for a more intentional, slower paced, and fulfilling lifestyle. And I've noticed that that kind of slower pace was contributing to my positive well-being. So that's how things kind of got started. And then from there, I continued learning more and more about slow living through my personal experiences, through, navigating the things that come up as you start living a slower lifestyle, and also consuming content from other people who are living a slower lifestyle and just learning about that space in general and then sharing it with you. I also learn a lot when I'm sharing things like this with you. So it's just been an entire journey. I talk about it being a journey so much because that is absolutely true in my mind. So yeah, that's kind of how I got started in it. I'm not an expert and I never will be an expert because it's a journey. It's always an ongoing thing. But yeah, that's kind of where I really truly got started. And it was many, many years ago where I started noticing that I wanted to live a slower lifestyle, maybe back in my college days. Oh my gosh, so this was like the shortest video ever. I am so sorry that this one isn't super long, but I hope it was kind of nice to sit and hear me chat with you about some of the questions that you've been having. If you have more questions for me, feel free to leave them down in the comment section, and on Instagram, I'm always available there as well. And I'm always happy and eager to answer any questions you may have, so long as they're like generally positive and not hateful. But thank you so much for your patience this week with this video. Again, I have another video coming out like I always do on Saturday, and I'm hoping that that one's going to be longer because there is a lot more fun things happening there. So stay tuned. Thank you for being here. I appreciate this community so much, and I will talk to you in the next one.